Welcome to the webinar Analyzing Data with Pivots. The question is, why do we need pivots when we have Excel formulas? Actually, when we have large amount of data and we want to quickly summarize that information, for example, in this case, we have over 50,000 rows of information and I want to quickly summarize it, and I want to view performances of my sales, and I want to see identify the top subcategory, the top products, and which region, and since it has data for 4 years, which particular month is among the highest revenue generators and which are the lowest months, lower performing months. All that information if I want to quickly analyze, summarize and analyze it, pivot plays a very important part in that. And especially when I am not very comfortable with applying formulas, when I don't have time to apply formulas, pivot will help me to quickly perform all those calculations in simple steps. So let's see how we can use pivots. So for our example, right now we're gonna use this order table and we're gonna summarize it. So if you wanna insert pivot table, either you can go to insert with any cell selected inside your pivot inside your table. You go to insert and you click on pivot table. And let's click OK. It gives the range. What is the range of my data table, and I need it in a new worksheet, so I click OK. Alternatively, I can use the keyboard shortcut Alt D P F. So in your Windows operating system, you can use Alt D P and then F for finish. So this keyboard shortcut will add a pivot in your Excel sheet. So let's quickly walk through the pivot table options, those who are familiar with it. So there are primarily 5 segments of a pivot table field settings. Here I get all the list of all the fields, basically the headers of my table. And then pivot has four segments, primarily 3, where it's rows, columns and values. It's just like a regular table where all the table will have data in rows, and then we have data in columns where I can put different headers, and then we have values. So pivot table follows similar structure. So I have data in if I have to summarize information, I can put all those fields under rows and columns, and the mathematical calculations, whatever mathematical calculation I want to perform, I will put all those fields under values. So at this moment right now, I want to quickly analyze my sales performance. So I'll go and select my sales data, sales field under values. So by default, Excel has given me the sum of the sales column. This is my overall sales performance, and I can quickly format it using the standard formatting options of Excel. So this is my overall sales. I can rename this either from here. So I can click here and go to field settings or value field settings in Windows operating system, and I can say it total sales. And this is my current summarization, which is sum. And when I click OK, this is total sales. Now I can drag and drop different metrics and either in rows and columns, and I'll get the sum of sales by those categories. So for example, if I'll drag and drop ship mode into rows, I get sum of sales value for each ship mode. Let me just maximize it. Zoom in it. Okay. So using standard Excel functionalities, I can sort these values. Similarly, if I need to put quantity next to it, I can drag and drop quantity. and I can do a value field settings. From here also, it's recommended that you, whenever we do formatting, you do it from value field settings, because that way it retains, if there is any change in the fields, it retains the formatting options. For example, if if we want, instead of ship mode, we would like to see uh, the sum of sales and order quantity by market, or let's say by country. So what I can do is I can drag and drop country over here. So see, my formatting options has been retained accordingly, and then I can sort it either by sales or by quantity sold. So all this option is available, and I quickly have summarized my information, the sum of sales and quantity, using this pivot. So when it comes to pivot, in the values field, if I drop any field which contains number, by default it always performs a sum. In case if I drag and drop any values, any columns which is not a number, for example, let's say customer ID, which is a text at the moment. If I drag and drop a customer ID in the value under the values, so let me. The only mathematical operation which is possible on the customer ID is count. So if I need the count, I can simply go ahead. If I need how many records I have, then I can simply go ahead and drag and drop any text field, and it will always give me the number of records of that field. So let me total. So for example, in the United States, there are in total 9,994 records, number of rows, in which I have total of 37,873 quantity sold, 229,721 as total sales amount. So this is a quick way of summarizing information, that so I can keep on adding more and more values, and I can pivot will help me to provide all this information in simple words. Once we add a pivot table, it works just like a regular table, where we can actually sort it and filter it as per our requirement. So for example, if I wish to sort this pivot table by profit, I want to see the top profits or the bottommost profit, I can sort it, or by sales. So I can apply sorting as per our requirement. Similarly, we can do filtering. We can filter the results by the values. For example, I want to show only the top 10 countries. Wherever it should show top 10 countries by profit. So I can click here on the row labels, and I would like to by values, and I say top 10. I enter the name 10, and this time I want to do it by total profit. So move it to the right. So by total profit, if I filter this table by total profit, I have got this list. If I do it by total sales, then I have a different list. So I can sort it, and all the sorting works if I apply any other filters to the table. For example, so I can add additional tables to the filter in a form of either a slicer or the regular filters. So let's talk about slicers. Slicers are very convenient when it comes to add dynamism, or what you call interactivity, to the pivot tables. So with pivot table selected, I go to pivot table analyze, and under there we got insert slicer, and I can select multiple fields over here. So let's say I want to slice this information. I want to filter this table by different ship mode. So I click on ship mode and click OK. So pivot table gives me a very nice looking slicer, which actually helps me to interactively filter my existing table. So right now this table is giving me top 10 profitable countries, and now I want to see by ship mode. So for first class, this is my top 10. So let's do over. So at the moment India is coming to be at the third position as the top in terms of profitability. Let me change to a different color. So India is coming to be as third position overall, but when the ship mode for first class, India is at fifth position, same day, further down to seventh, second class fourth, standard. So you can see the values are also changing as per sorting, and using slicer I can add dynamism to my pivot table and create interactivity. I can have multiple slicers. So let's this time apart from ship mode, let's do a market. And so I'm currently filtering on ship mode, and if I want to see Asia Pacific, then these countries are coming in Asia Pacific under second class. I can remove the filter. On the ship mode for Africa, these are top 10 countries in African region when it comes to profitability. Similarly, in Europe, these are my top 10 countries, LATAM, USCA, so on and so forth. So I can have multiple slicers, and I can filter my results using pivots and using slicer. So let's talk about the pivot table options. The important aspect of the pivot table analysis, so there are two things I would like to cover here in terms of pivot table. One is the data source, change data source. So in case, let's say, new data comes in, I have at the moment right now 51,291 records. If new records comes, and so let me quickly add some dummy data. So my data is now from A1 till X51295. But my pivot, if I'll check the source of my pivot table, so if I'll select pivot table, go to pivot table, analyze, change source data, it's not updated. So what I can do right now is that I can select the entire table and click OK, and then I have my entire data here refreshed. So I can use this pivot change source option. Another important aspect here is the calculated field. So I would like to create a field which is not present in my existing table, but I would like to be it a calculations from the two tables, from the two existing fields. For example, I would like to have a field where I would want to divide sales by quantity item. So sales per quantity, on an average, what is my average sale per quantity? I would like to see that information. So how in pivot it provides me to add calculated field. So with the table selected, I go to pivot table, analyze, field settings, calculated field. I should give it a name, so which is sales per unit, and the formula for that is sales. Also I double click sales and then double click quantity. So this is my formula. I click OK. Now so Excel has added that field in my field list, although it's not present in my data, but it's present in my pivot table, and I can view this information based on any other slice. So it will work just like a regular Excel regular pivot fields, but it's calculated. So I can change the name, which is sales per unit.